Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You're watching Blueprint Explosive Exclusive with me, Meghna Deka. First up on the bulletin, we're going to talk about how finally, after 32 years of denial and betrayal, there is a small ray of hope for the survivors of one of the longest ongoing pogroms in the world. The Kashmiri Hindus today hope that they will finally get justice and closure from the highest courts of our land. The Supreme Court, which had dismissed a plea in 2017 to reopen the Kashmir files, has now admitted a plea seeking the constitution of an SIT which will bring the genocide perpetrators and also the enablers to book. Listen in.
I have prayed before the Honorable Supreme Court to constitute SIT for investigation of the genocide which took place in 1989-1990. And I must inform to the public through your channel that in fact the then state government did not take any action against the culprits, the perpetrators of the genocide, and therefore we have approached the Honorable Supreme Court after you see abolition of Article 370 and 35A. That is very important thing, and therefore we have approached the Honorable Supreme Court that constitute SIT.
Well, in fact, let's also tell you about the betrayal, the systemic betrayal by everyone who held power over these years. The first betrayal, the NC State Committee did not function with regularity. Who said this? This is something that the NHRC report in 2000-2001 had said this. This, remember, is the NHRC report, which also said that it didn't receive cooperation and didn't prioritize the problems that the victims were facing. Also, it went on to say that the NHRC was assured that problems facing the Pandits would be given a priority. NHRC is the one which is indicting the then government. It goes on to say that regrettably this has not been the case. This is what the human rights body itself had to say. Let's also tell you what the Jammu and Kashmir government said to the Ministry of Home Affairs regarding Omar Kaul's plea. This is what the government has said. That's the third betrayal we are getting for you, that there was no purpose would be served by handing the case to CBI when there were repeated pleas which were coming in that handed across to the CPI. SP Ved, who was the former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir, he said that 70 dreaded ISI trained terrorists were released from jail. These are the very people, the perpetrators of this pogrom of Hindus. He goes on to say that this is the Jammu and Kashmir Migrant Immovable Properties Act of 1997, which said that the Jammu and Kashmir government document confirms that the exodus began when Farooq was the chief minister, which is way back in the late 80s. Which is why it's important for us to remind our viewers that it's not just about the repeated betrayals, but also how till date these enablers are moving amongst us. Remember the person Farooq Abdullah, under whom, and this is something that the courts have also said, the Farooq Abdullah was the one at the time when the entire exodus of the Hindus had begun. We put some straight questions. Listen in to Navika Kumar, our group editor, putting some straight question, demanding accountability from him, because at the time he was the chief minister when the mass exodus of the Hindus had begun. Watch how he ducked all our questions.
जो कश्मीरी हिंदू हैं उन्हें कश्मीर से निकाल दिया गया और 32 साल से वो इंतजार कर रहे हैं इंसाफ का जो उन्हें आज तक कभी मिला ही नहीं। इसीलिए कश्मीरी हिंदूज की अगर बात होती है तो ये नहीं होता कि हम बाकियों की बात नहीं कर रहे, हम ये कह रहे हैं कि इनकी आहें, इनके रोने की सिसकियां किसी के कानों तक क्यों नहीं पहुंचती हैं?
मैं नहीं जानता, या आप दिल्ली की हुकूमत से पूछिए।
आपका कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, मैं पूछना इसलिए चाहती हूं क्योंकि जब भी कश्मीर की
कोर्ट ने आप इसका फैसला किया है, आप क्यों बार बार इसको रिपीट कर रही हैं? कोर्ट ने फैसला कर दिया कि वो सुनना चाहते हैं,
लेकिन कोर्ट
अब उनका फैसला सुनिए, ट्रायल चलने दीजिए।
कोर्ट का तो फैसला कई चीजों पर
हम तो पहले से
चाहिए।
कहते हैं कि इन बेचारों को वापस लाइए, घर लाइए इनको, कौन कहता नहीं लाइए? हम तो हर वक्त ये कहते हैं।
पर ये निकले तो आपके समय थे फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब, आप रोक लेते।
हुजूर, कौन निकालने वाला था? कभी ये सोचते हैं आप? क्या मैंने बंदूक उठाई? क्या हमने बंदूक उठाई? कौन थे जिनने ये किया? उन पे उंगली क्यों नहीं उठाते आप?
तो
जो पार से आए,
जो बाहर
एथनिक क्लेंजिंग चाहते थे।
पर जो बाहर से आए, जो एथनिक क्लेंसिंग चाहते थे, उनसे तो आप कहते हैं हमेशा के बातचीत करते रहिए। आप ये तो कभी नहीं कहते कि इन्होंने मारा है कश्मीरियों को, हिंदुओं को,
देखिए, आपको मुसीबत ये है that your mind is one set mind. It is not only I saying that वो बात करें। अभी आपने वो इंटरव्यू सुना वायर पे, जो एक्स हमारे सबरवाल जो वहां पे हाई कमिश्नर थे, उनने इंटरव्यू दिया। वो इंटरव्यू पढ़िए और उसके बाद देखिए वो क्या कहते हैं।
मैं बात करना चाहती हूँ फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब, आप कहते हैं कि जो ये
नहीं, फारूक अब्दुल्ला से ऐसी बात मत करिए मेहरबानी करके। मैं इंटरव्यू बंद कर दूंगा अगर आप ऐसी बात करती रहेंगी।
क्यों? 1989 की जो किलिंग,
आप जख्मों को उखाड़ रही हैं। आप जख्मों को उखाड़ रही हैं।
जिनके जख्म रिस रहे हैं 32 सालों से, उनके जख्मों का क्या?
हम सबके जख्म, हर कश्मीरी का जख्म। वो हिंदू हमारे भाई थे, कोई हमारे दुश्मन नहीं थे। हम उनके साथ पले हैं, पोसे हैं, जिए हैं, बैठे हैं, मरे और जिए हैं उनके साथ।
मरे और जिए हैं अगर, तो मुझे ये बताइए, इतिहास आपसे पूछता है कि जब 3 हिंदू, टीकालाल टपलू, जस्टिस नीलाकांत गंजू, जब जर्नलिस्ट प्रेमनाथ भट्ट को शूट कर दिया था, और ये सितंबर 1989, अक्टूबर 1989, दिसंबर 1989, जब आप मुख्यमंत्री थे, तो आपने क्या?
इंटरव्यू फॉर
My interview is for asking about Kashmir.
I'm not ready to give her interview. She is totally
तो आप
one-sided BJP person.
मैं बीजेपी की हूं, और कश्मीरी हिंदू किसके हैं? आपके नहीं है, आपके नहीं है फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब। फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब कश्मीर पे सवालों के जवाब नहीं देना चाहते, कश्मीरी हिंदुओं के सवालों के जवाब देना ही नहीं चाहते। मैं क्या कर सकती हूं? बड़ी कोशिश की कि कुछ जवाब मिल जाएं, some answers at least, but no, 3 questions, not even 3, maybe 1.5 question on Kashmiri Hindus and what happened to them. क्या हुआ था उनके साथ 1990 और 1989 में, और फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब उठकर चले गए। बस यही है फ्रैंकली स्पीकिंग कश्मीर के मुद्दे पर, कश्मीरी हिंदुओं के मुद्दे पर। फ्रैंकली स्पीकिंग विद फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब कश्मीर पर। कहते हैं कश्मीरी हिंदू हमारे हैं, सब हमारे हैं, लेकिन उनके रोते हुए, सिसकते हुए आंसुओं को एक बार भी जवाब देने के लिए तैयार नहीं है फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब। गुस्सा आता है उन्हें, उनका क्या, जो 32 सालों से इंसाफ ढूंढ रहे हैं, उनके आंसुओं का, उनके गुस्से का अंदाजा है किसी को? मैं छोड़ती हूं ये आज पब्लिक और व्यूअर्स के ऊपर कि वो तय करें क्यों फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब उठकर चले गए।
And right after this, Mr. Abdullah's party, the National Conference leader, has defended its president, and yet again, instead of answering some of the straight questions which were put to him and his party, watch how they target the media instead.
ऐसी बात नहीं है, फारूक साहब ने गुस्सा नहीं किया है। जब भी कोई एंकर बीजेपी का स्पोक्स पर्सन बन के बात करेगा तो गुस्सा आता है। जब वो इंसान बन के करेगा, तौसब की ऐनक उतार के आप बात करें तो कोई किसी को गुस्सा नहीं। ये सवाल क्यों नहीं किया कि कश्मीर के अंदर 1990 से लेकर 2022 तक जो हुए हैं उसके जिम्मेदार कौन है? उसने ये सवाल क्यों नहीं किया? ये पर्टिकुलरली क्यों किया कि आप चीफ मिनिस्टर थे? ये उसको क्यों लेबल कर रहे हैं नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस? नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस को किसी का सर्टिफिकेट लेने की जरूरत नहीं है। नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ने 1947 में साबित कर दिया है, जब जम्मू के अंदर एक बहुत बड़ा तूफान आया था, पूरे इंडिया के अंदर तूफान था, और नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ने साबित कर दिया था कश्मीर के अंदर कि एक बंदा भी किसी की जान नहीं गई।
So let me go across to Pradeep Datta, who's joining us. Pradeep, all those people who presided over one of the worst pogroms and an ongoing pogrom in the world are today running for cover. But perhaps they have reason to fear, isn't it? Because now finally there is a ray of hope for the victims. This in the Supreme Court now taking up this plea. Is that what's sending them across? Even today, they refuse to back this bid to try and get justice, to try and get closure.
Right. In fact, it is at the world of genocide.
32 years. Unfortunately, these netas, instead of speaking for them, they had all these years been speaking for villains like Yasin Malik, they've been speaking for Vita Karate, but they never ever stood for them. And when a few days back, our group editor, like now everybody had been listening to how when she was asking him a question, he lost his cool. And when I asked this question to the National Conference senior leader also, he also started defending his leader. Instead of feeling sorry that what Farooq Abdullah did, because Farooq Abdullah was that time Chief Minister. And Chief Minister is always the guardian of the state, and it is his responsibility to ensure safety and security of each and every citizen. What really happened at that point of time? Instead of defending them, instead of trying to generate confidence among them, he fled from that area, he left for London. So that's one of the reasons that everybody is quite angry with him, because they feel that Farooq Abdullah did not do much to ensure justice for the Kashmiri Hindu community, because more than 5 lakh people leaving their huts and homes because of the Pak-sponsored gun culture. And what we have seen over the period of time, what they do, they parrot one line: we need to have a dialogue with Pakistan, knowing that Pakistan is responsible for death and destruction in Jammu and Kashmir. And I still remember one incident in Bangladesh in which 35 Kashmiri Pandits were targeted, and same day there was a ceremony of Winter Games. And Farooq Abdullah was singing and dancing. They were singing a song called Asna Gindra Kariyo. Let's dance and sing together. So that was not okay. That clearly shows the insensitivity of these persons towards the massacre that had taken place. Even today, when very straight question was asked about the Nadi Marg and
very straight question was asked about the Nadi Marg and other Kashmiri Hindus who had been suffering a lot, he is losing his cool. Instead, he should have felt sorry what really has happened. He should have said, yes, we will try to rectify and correcting what really happened wrong. We will try to ensure that in future, none of the Kashmiri Hindu or the Pandits suffers. And they had been only talking about the rehabilitation of surrendered terrorists. We have seen that there had been, if you look at the policy of the Mufti government, because everybody is responsible for that. Why Kashmiri Pandits feel that they had been part of the ecosystem? Because they always try to encourage and embolden terror-related elements. We saw a few days back Mehbooba Mufti beating her chest for Yasin Malik, but they never ever spoke for the Kashmiri Hindus. We saw that how, in fact, Farooq Abdullah had been talking of having a dialogue. When it came to Tiranga, they also tried to insult Tiranga also. The same Tiranga for which we see our soldiers standing there on border
Absolutely.
and taking bullets on their body to ensure safety and security of the country. But they don't understand this thing, because this community has suffered. Now,
but now there is a plea in the Supreme Court that it's not just the perpetrators but also the enablers of this genocide who must be brought to book as per the law of the land. And that is what the Supreme Court is going to be hearing, the plea which is going to come up tomorrow. So remember, this plea, a similar plea, was given in the Supreme Court in 2017. However, at the time, the Supreme Court had come out and said that it does not merit reopening these cases, saying that it's not going to be fruitful enough. In fact, the Supreme Court at the time had said that the instances in the review plea are from 1989 and 90. However, let's also remind our viewers how there have been precedents in the past. For example, you take the 1984 anti-Sikh riot case. In this, after 33 years, it was decided, and this is the Supreme Court order of March 2017, which said that the SIT to reopen the cases which were closed without a probe were then reopened. This is after 33 years. This is another precedent that the Supreme Court itself had said. And let's also remind you how at the time of 2017 directive of the Supreme Court, which had then closed the cases, said more than 27 years have passed, no fruitful purpose will be served if you reopen these cases. However, 1990 attack on IAF personnel, in the Indian Air Force personnel, the butchery, the massacre which happened in Kashmir was reopened after 30 years. In this, the Supreme Court had said that, the Tada Court rather, had said that it is going to frame the charges, and it had not just that, there is another precedent, which is that of the Rubaiya Saeed kidnapping case of 1989, where the Tada Court had ordered the charges to be filed against Yasin Malik and others. However, many are now asking, why is it that those who have suffered one of the worst pogroms, the Kashmiri Hindus, why should their justice come with an expiry tag? Why not reopen the case and probe? Tomorrow, of course, the Supreme Court is going to be hearing a plea just for that. We are going to be covering, and this is going to be a Times Now campaign, reopen the Kashmir files. But with that, a short break. Don't go anywhere.